Okay, so I would just like to start out by saying I am bad with computers, and I have done this video already, and I put it in 4 different clips because I changed clothes and I did all this cute stuff, and I have no idea how to make it into one big old long video or put it on YouTube or submit it to Blackboard. Ignore this here, Band-Aid. So I'm just going to make one big old long video, and if I mess up, then I apologize, but you will understand the content, and we'll see how it goes. So, there are some critical questions that we need to be addressing. One of them is money corrupting politicians? Is campaign spending affecting the actions of these politicians? And is it an issue of free speech? Or are we all just crazy? I mean, in the past, politicians used to go to corporations and propose that they pass favorable legislation so that these corporations can make more money, and also the politicians can get the money from those corporations to support their campaign or whatever the heck they're doing. I mean, that's how it used to be, and then everything changed. And this is where I changed clothes and I switched the video, and it was really cute, but I don't know how to do that. So, a little history behind all this is Teddy Roosevelt. He is the man, the myth, the legend. Teddy Roosevelt was really the first politician that made it a priority, and also made a huge impact on regulating and making capitalism a fair competition, because he believed that money had a negative impact on campaigns. So then he goes off and signs the Tillman Act in 1907. This Tillman Act was the first legislation that has had an impact on campaign financing since, ever. What this basically did was ban corporations from giving money to candidates directly. They could still donate and support the candidate, but they couldn't give the money to them himself or herself. I don't mean to be like sexist or anything. They just couldn't do it directly to the candidate. And then you have political action committees. These political action committees controlled a lot of the elections in the 1950s and up. After all, these acts were passed and they had to figure out something to do. So, all of that went down, and these political action committees, I'm going to probably call them PACs sometimes. It's like PAC, Political Action Committee, PACs. They just started popping up in every direction, this way, that way. And these corporations that were restricted before, they were the ones that started using these PACs to influence the outcome of these elections again. They weren't like exactly the corporation supporting the campaign, because that had been outlawed and they couldn't do that. No one's allowed to do that. But it was funded by the corporations. So really, it was a way for them to still control the elections and not get penalized for spending the money on the campaigns. Good old Americans finding a way around it. And then, in 1971, the Federal Election Campaign Act was passed. Yet another act. And this was the first law to put limitations on campaign spending. Basically, this act tried to limit the amount that these political action committees were spending on these campaigns. But this act wasn't just about the political action committees. No. It also limited something else, or someone else. Not a particular person, but one individual donor was restricted because they weren't allowed to donate money to a candidate directly either. So it wasn't just the PACs and the committees or Sorry, where was that? It wasn't just the corporations, it was now for regular people. And, you know, that didn't work out either. So then they had the McCain-Feingold campaign, or as some people call it, the BCRA. This was in 2002, and they refined the legal rules for campaign spending. This also banned the political action committees, like everything before. It banned them and corporations from rolling out all kinds of ads and TV shows and newspapers and movies, crap like that, right before election time. But they were trying to find a little way around that. I'll get to it in a minute. Well, until recently, the most important case, court case. The most important case on campaign finance was Buckley versus Valeo. Valeo? Something. I've watched lots of videos on it and I still can't say it. I apologize. Don't listen to me, but it's real important. It's like Buckley versus Valeo, something. You get the gist. Important court case. This case established the idea that limits on campaign spending were more problematic under the First Amendment. Because, I mean, limiting the amount someone could spend on politics was basically limiting the amount a person could say about politics. So, isn't that kind of taking away freedom of speech? And isn't that kind of the First Amendment? Illegal, right? Well, that's what they thought in this court case. Enough history, though, for a minute. I promise. Maybe. The Citizens United was a non-profit group, but they were against the Federal Election Commission in 2009, another court case. This was really about movies, like the movie they made about Hillary Clinton, you know, but you kind of don't know because they wouldn't release it because it was against the rules and nobody was allowed to watch it. But, I mean, that's not politically accurate and I'm probably not supposed to talk about that. So, I'm gonna phrase it a different way. So, this reaffirmed the idea that money is the equivalent to speech and struck down many of the limitations on campaign donations. They made that movie about Hillary Clinton to get people to be opposed to Hillary Clinton. And so after they were like, no, you can't release this movie, what are you doing? And they made more limitations and changed some stuff and said that money is the equivalent to speech. Logically, though, putting limitations on campaign spending makes it to where politicians and candidates have to reach out to greater numbers of people. And in the end, isn't that the point of democracy? To reach out to the majority, and it's like kind of majority rule. Because if you get all your money from one guy, and he's like, I'm going to support you, here's all the money you need, and all you have to do is listen to me and do this thing for me, then he's kind of controlled by that guy that's giving him money, and he probably wouldn't do well in office, or we wouldn't like what he does in office, because he's trying to, well, that guy that's supporting him is trying to take advantage of him because if he has the money. But if he's limited to the amount that he can give him, then he can't be like, okay, you have to meet this, this, and this, and I'll give you this much money, because he can't give him that much money. So that person has to go out and find other people to give him money. And then you appeal to more people. And obviously, if you're giving them money, then you're probably voting for them. So to me, I feel like that's the point of democracy. This isn't really about history. I know I said I was done. It's kind of not about history, but it kind of is. It just doesn't have any dates like the rest of it did. It's still important. It's about PACs. Again, sorry, I keep talking about them. Super PACs. This is like brand new upscale PAC. These super PACs are currently the majority of donations given to campaigns. But, I mean, they have limitations as well, because everything has limitations. They also can't directly be associated with a candidate. And to me, I feel like that's questionable. Because why would they spend that much money on a candidate and donate that much if they don't get anything out of it? I mean, sure, they can say, oh, I supported that candidate. But they can't be associated with them. They're not buds. So what are they getting, really? You spent all this money. You might have the same views, but you're not gaining anything. To me, really, I just think you're losing money. But maybe it's not that limiting campaign spending is taken away from the First Amendment or rights stated in the Constitution. It's also what I just stated. It's limiting individuals and corporations from buying the favor of candidates. That's what all these court cases were about anyway. Okay, enough blabbering. My favorite time, fun fact time. Okay, so the total spending on House and Senate races is around $3.6 billion. And when you think about it, it's not that much. Because annually, Americans spend $7 billion on potato chips. $7 billion on potato chips each year. What? That's double the amount that was spent on House and Senate races. So, it doesn't add up to as much as you think. In the end, really, it's up to you to decide if campaign financing determines the effect of the electoral process or not. But for me, based on these court cases that I just stated, like Buckley versus Valeo, and all the history with all the dates and everything that I just told you about campaign spending, I mean, I really do believe that the electoral process is partially determined by campaign financing. Although, that's just the opinion of some 17-year-old girl. So, what do I know? I'm the future of America. Or something. Anyway, thanks for watching.